Okay, welcome in. Happy practice to you. This is a 20-minute practice for quad opening, which means that we're going to take 20 minutes, which it could probably take 20 minutes for your quads to get the memo that you're even going to attempt to do something rad with them. So let's pull our hands to the center of our being. Take 3 really good breaths. If you're less skillful at honing yourself in, like if it's brand new to you, just take this moment and drop in and do what you can. If you're more practiced at the 3 breaths, tune in, drop in, practice, expand the 3 breaths so that you really harmonize with a powerful intention. Why yoga? Why today? All right. Release your hands, open your eyes, and start standing. Hopefully you have a block and a blanket. If you do not, you can modify in some way. Blanket in the middle of your mat, block between the upper inner thighs. Line up your feet. So when you put the block, it's the most narrow width between the upper inner thighs. And then when you do that, you're going to look down and line up the center of your ankle with the second toe on each foot. And then bend your knees, and hopefully your knees line up more with your third and fourth toe when you bend your knee. When you straighten the knees, you want your kneecap to line up more with your second toe. I'm glad you're here. And we're going to squeeze the block. I've got my hands on my upper thighs for a reason. And opening quads, it's a lot like going to the little playground inside your body. And today's principle of alignment is seesaw principle. So now if you bend your knees, the distal end of your femur bone has moved forward and up towards your nose, and the proximal end of the femur bone, the top of it, has moved down and towards the back of your hamstring. So seesaw principle, when one part of the bone moves in one direction, the other one will skillfully move in the opposite. And so we need the tops of the femur bones to keep moving towards the back plane of your leg. And that will remain true in all the different shapes. And so in the childlike essence of yoga, the playful essence of yoga, we get to become shape shifters. And I'm having you go up and down because I want you to warm up your quads before we go into stretch. And if you squeeze the block and try to move your upper thighs back towards your hamstring when you straighten your legs, and please remember that that doesn't necessarily happen in the back of the knee joint. The shins, the seesaw principle, if the top of the shin moves forward while the upper thigh moves back, you're going to get some really healthy energy flow in the leg bone. Now bend the knees, push the hips back, and keeping the knees bent, use your hands right where your hip creases are, squeeze the block, and push the femur bones posteriorly towards your buttocks. Try to find a 90-degree fold where your heart is level with the ground. Good. Now bend the knees again, lift your chest, reach back and find your buttocks and squeeze those muscles right where they hit your hamstrings and your buttocks unite. I call it your thut, your thigh and your butt. And now use the muscles on the butt. They're the antagonist to your quad. So use the buttocks, keep them strong, push down through your feet as you move the femur bones back. And now fingers to the ground. And if that's a big, oh my God, my hamstrings, then you'll have to bend your knees. Now place your hands and waddle your feet back with your block, plank pose. Lower your knees. With the knees down, pull the knees forward towards your wrists. And so now we have seesaw principle. The bottom end of your femur bone has moved forward. The top end of the femur bone has moved backward. See if you can maintain that. And that block's going to help you as you lower your belly. It's going to lift your upper inner thighs, point your toes, shoelace side down. And little baby cobra. So try to squeeze the block as you lift up, keeping the inner thighs strong. And lower down. Seesaw principle, press the knees, lift the upper thighs, tuck your toes. Keep pressing the knees forward and lift your knees up. Now think seesaw principle, shins forward, knees forward, upper thighs back for downward dog. Walk your hands backward to meet your feet. Squeeze the block, bend your knees, push the upper thigh bones back, heart forward. And then bend the knees a lot, lower the buttocks like you were sitting in a chair. This is called Utkatasana, the chair pose. Squeeze the block and keep the thighs moving back as you extend your legs. Arms up. And hands to heart. Take your block away. Place it and maybe the other one at the front of your mat. Left foot forward. Right knee down. Drag the back knee forward and bring your hands up to your front left thigh. Keep pulling that back knee forward. So like you were trying to press it into something in the middle of your mat. And then pull the belly button back. Keep the thigh bone moving backwards towards your heel, even as you stretch the front knee forward. So can you try to keep that thigh bone moving back towards your buttocks, even as you stretch. And what we're looking for in the perfect world is, can you move the stretch further down the quad and not right up in that hip flexor? And change sides. Pick up the back knee, set it a little further back. Press the back knee forward, pull the belly button back. Maintain the connection of your back knee pressing forward as you stretch from your right sit bone on the bottom through the right knee on the front. Deep breath in, long breath out. Blocks to the side, downward dog. Inhale to your knees. Step the right foot forward. And then I'll show you the seesaw principle. So you may need your blanket under your knee. And if you press the knee forward and lift the back foot just a little bit off the floor. Keep dragging that back knee forward and move your hips back. So that seesaw principle moves the upper femur bone back towards your back foot. Back yourself out. It's counterintuitive. In yoga, we're like, I have to get the deepest stretch ever. And right now I'm saying, back off. And then push your buttocks towards your heel. And then find your foot. Keep pushing the buttocks to your heel. And then use your upper arm bone to pull your foot towards your sit bone. And if that's not possible, if your foot's way back here, you're good. This is a quad stretch. And you don't need to hold your foot. Buttocks back, heel towards buttocks. Now pull the belly button back. Keep moving your right buttocks towards your right heel, even as you bend and deepen that pose. Inhale, release. Lift the back knee. Keep that back knee moving forward and try to extend the inside seam of the leg from the upper inner thigh through the inner knee, through the heel. So it's like resistance. Even though the leg extends, that knee's trying to push forward. And hopefully you get a big, juicy stretch all the way through. Stretch the right arm forward, plug it in, and lift it up. Downward dog. Right foot forward, left knee down. Pull the back knee forward. Lift the back foot a tiny bit. Push your hips way back. Reach around and find your foot. Keep pushing the buttocks towards your heel. Use your left tricep and elbow to pull up on your foot. And can you try to magnetize your back buttocks towards your heel as you deepen the lunge? And this is too much quad stretch, let go. And you don't need it. Just keep pressing the knee forward. Left arm forward, draw in, rise up. Belly button back. Belly button back. Back body. Lower the back foot. Lift your back knee a little bit. Press down through the ball mound of your back foot. Press down through the ball mound of your back foot. Press that knee forward. And then try to lengthen more from the inside seam of the leg. Resisting. Shins forward, thighs to back plane. Reach forward, left arm. Reach in and line up. And lower down. Dog pose. Inhale, plank. Lower your knees. Lift your right leg up, bend your knee. All right, so for Dhanurasana, for bow pose, which is the belly down, back bend, we need our inner thighs to lead the way. We need the femur bone to move from the front of the leg to the back of the leg. And one way to do that is to ask your buttocks to get really strong. So see if you can push from your buttocks, extend your heel up, pulse it. Yeah, good. And switch legs. Left leg up. Lift your navel away from the floor, firming the glutes, both legs. Push through the heels. Try to lift the inner edge of your femur bone and the outer edge of your femur bone equally. There are a lot of people, the inner thighs are so much weaker than your buttocks. This will be enlightening, to say the least. And lower that down, come down to your belly. We'll come to forearms in a very soft Sphinx pose. My elbows are pretty far forward. Zip up your navel, lift it away from the floor, lengthen and lift from the inside seam of the leg and the outer hip. Lift that glute. And then bend your knee. Press down through the shoelace side of your left foot. And pulse. If your leg doesn't lift very much or hardly at all, that's okay. Now, set the knee down, reach back with your right hand and see if you can touch your heel. See if you can. And then before you hold your foot, press the distal end right above your kneecap, push it down into the mat. The bottom of your femur bone, right where your knee is. Push it down and that should lift. You should have a little pocket under the top of the femur bone. Then hold your foot. Then draw the tailbone long until your pubic bone feels like it comes to the mat. Lift your elbow. And the first phase would be to draw your heel towards your sit bone. Good. Inhale, release. Make sure your lower back is happy. Zip up the belly button, pull it away from the floor. There's muscles right around your tailbone. Give them a little bit of a tone. Lift your left leg from the buttocks. Bend your knee and find that pulsation. Keep both hips on the floor. Use your glute, inner thigh. There you go. And set the knee down. Push, reach back. And before you hold your foot, push the distal end of that femur bone down, the bottom end, push it down. Try to lift the top of the femur bone. And then you'll reach back to find your foot. If you cannot find your foot, you don't need it. Pull the belly button forward, lengthen your tailbone, and see if you can direct the heel more towards your sit bone. And release. Plant your hands, tuck your toes, lift your navel up and back, downward dog. Hands on the mat, feet on the mat, inhale, right leg up. Bend your knee. Open your hips. Square your hips. Lower right leg to meet left. Inhale, left leg up. Bend your knee. Open your hips. There's a million and one ways, different poses we could do. And we're staying in the sagittal plane. So come down to the knees. Got one more tip for quad opening. It's really actually quite important. So step the left foot forward. You will need to look at your monitor for this. One thing that happens when we try to go into a deeper lunge, so watch my back leg and how when I go into a deeper lunge, that leg moved more towards diagonal from right to left. What this does is it places a whole bunch of strain on your hip flexor and your lower back. So if you back off and move the top of the femur bone back a bit, make the quad front pocket hollow. And now try to keep that hip moving to the right as you deepen the lunge. So that will, it can be quite unsatisfying for a lot of yogis who are used to pushing the limits, but not having boundaries of good biomechanics. So push your hips back, lift the back foot a little bit, move the hips back, find your foot, buttocks to heel, and then really be mindful as you go into a deeper lunge that you're not letting yourself fall to the left. Try to keep that upper inner thigh moving to the right. And release that side. And side two, right leg forward. And just try it a few times. When you sink into the depth of your lunge with no muscular energy, that means no energy pulling in towards the midline. That back knee doesn't remember that it's trying to drive forward. It'll just collapse. And if you hold that energy to the midline and now widen the femur bone to the left, it's a very different experience. And then pick up the back foot just a little bit. Try all three of those. Thighs back, thighs wide, and then the extension all together. There's a quad opener, a really healthy, juicy quad opener that your knees will like. And release. Come down to your belly. Hands outside the ribs. Lengthen and lift one leg at a time. And one of the primary reasons I have yogis do this lift lengthen first is it has a very different effect on the fascial plane of the leg. When you lift the leg and then bend the knee and then set it down and push right above the kneecap, has a very different effect fascially. Fascia is connective tissue. Now reach back and hold your foot. Then lengthen, lift, bend, push down through the other foot. Reach back, bow in, look down. Pull the lower navel into the lower back. Remembering that the inner thighs are strong. Start by pushing right above your kneecap down. And then gently pull your heel towards your buttocks. Now strengthen your buttocks. From your buttocks, push your feet into your hands and try to lift the inner thigh and the outer hip by pushing through both feet, both hands. Very good. Inhale, come down and rest. Let your breath expand. If holding both feet in Dhanurasana feels like an impossibility, we'll do one more with, I'll instruct the no hands version. If you want to use your hands, you'll use your hands. So hands outside the ribs, push down, lengthen, lift, one leg at a time. Lengthen, lift, bend one leg, lengthen, lift, bend the other. Zip up your navel, push right above the kneecaps down and flex your ankles. Keep pushing right above the knee and push down through your hands. Pushing down through right above the knee and down through your hands, lengthen your tailbone and lift your chest a little bit. Now float the hands back, fingertips toward your heels. And breathe. If you want to hold your feet, go more towards the toe side instead of the ankle side. It'll give you a little more space. Now keep trying to push the kneecap towards the mat, even though the inner thighs and the upper femur bone are lifting. And release. Cobra. Up and back, downward dog. Now downward dog is the counter pose to the quad opener back bend. So it's a forward fold that's less than 90 degrees. Bend your knees. Knees move forward, upper thigh bones move back. Inhale to your knees. Exhale, child's pose. That was your 20-minute how to open quads and do Dhanurasana yoga practice. So hopefully it inspired you to want to stick around. And I know a couple folks came and left pretty quickly. Probably scared them with all the details. Rise on up. Have a seat. So sometimes 20 minutes is all you have. And could you do more good in 20 minutes than an hour-long practice of sloppy biomechanics? I believe so. Although it's good to make sure you just feel better at the end of the practice. That's really what matters. Hands to heart. Honor your body as a gift. Honor that childlike essence that maybe the childlike essence meets the engineer or the architect of you. And the two get to combine. And may this practice forever unfold in its curiosity. Deep breath in, long breath out. Inhale again. Namaste. Thank you, thank you. And next week we'll be doing shoulder openers. So we will combine what we learned today with some shoulder openers, and Dhanurasana will feel even better. Thanks, all.